So, before we open our regular business meeting, we're going to open a public hearing to consider submitting a application for a community block grant disaster recovery program for flood mitigation in Irisville, including the replacement of a culvert on Carroll Road, property acquisition for some related to the culvert and some wetlands restoration, and consideration of improvements to the town.
We're not getting any audio anymore.
Can you not hear?
Might be a me problem.
Mac, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Alice, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Fred hasn't said anything.
Hi, Alice. How's Leroy?
Marissa's coming back. Can you hear us?
Or
now, Marissa?
Elroy, not a Leroy.
I can't hear you now. I think it was a me problem. My apologies for the interruption.
Great, no problem. So I'm going to turn it over to York for a brief explanation of the project. This is a program that the town was made aware of and was encouraged to apply for. It's flood mitigation, but it's limited to a fairly tight area in town that's eligible.
So essentially, this stems from the July 10th, 2023 flooding event. Because Waitsfield didn't actually have much flooding July 10th, 2023, there's certain parts of the program that we cannot apply for. However, there's a very large amount of money, and so we asked CDBG, essentially, when we had a call with them, what can we do for the town so Waitsfield doesn't lose out? And if the answer is there's some mitigation money. So what the plan is to apply for this grant. We've spent a good bit of time on it already. It's due October 10th. It's a three-parter. I've talked to multiple external stakeholders, scientists, Friends of the Mid River, our engineer, Agency of Natural Resources. So I'm really working on to make sure it's a project that if it's funded, it's going to really do what it's supposed to do. It's a three-part, like I said. It's purchasing the parcel on the corner of Carroll Road and Main Street, the south side of it. If you're familiar with that parcel, it's undeveloped. The reason that parcel is important is multiple reasons. Right now it's undeveloped, and keeping it at least mostly undeveloped is really important for flood mitigation. Because right now it's basically a low functioning wetland, and that is important for especially absorption for flooding events, which we know we're having often, and potentially for the Irisville Village Master Plan to be able to, even potentially, and I always mess up the way to say this, basically moving some low functioning wetland from one area where we could potentially develop in Irisville to this location on the corner of Carroll Road and Main Street. Underneath Carroll Road is a 4-foot culvert. It is quite rusted out and also giving way. I met with Rachel from A&R last week, and Josh Schwartz joined me. And she thinks it's a great part of the project. Again, Tyler Billingsley is our town engineer. He's very, very supportive of this project and said with the three together is going to really, could have major bang for your buck. So that would be to replace it most likely with a box culvert. And then the third part is basically reassess the town pond. The town pond might be the right answer. When it went in, it was best practice. Now the question is it still best practice to have the town pond? Because there's failure points. And so assessing, is the town pond right? If it's not right, maybe a high functioning wetland is better to accommodate the risk of flooding events. So that's essentially what the project is.
But that third piece of it is just an analysis to determine
That's
whether
right.
changing any other improvements should be done.
That's right.
Is there anybody here for the public hearing?
Yeah, I could say something quickly.
Yeah, Alice?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the property that's at the intersection of Carroll Road and Route 100, which is the one that some work started on and was halted by A&R?
That's correct.
Yeah, I thought that was because it is a wetland or a potential wetland.
That is
There's,
right. And they could build, if I remember correctly from JB Weir, our zoning administrator, a 300 like square foot envelope could go there.
Mhm.
And so essentially this is putting it in the town hands so that even something small like that couldn't happen. And potentially, what if something happened that allowed the envelope to be bigger? So the goal, again, is to make sure that remains a wetland area, which is important, really, especially for the Irisville Village Master Plan, I think. But also as that entrance to the Carroll Road culvert.
And my understanding is that there's potential to do some improvements that would enhance the wetlands functions of the property.
That is correct.
Yeah, there is a star on that property, which means that Shannon Morrison has been contacted at some point on the properties of that parcel, and it's an outstanding project, a wetland project, so I just question, is it a wetland or is it a floodplain reconnection?
I guess I can't say, because I'm not a
Yeah.
scientist, I don't know. And we've reached out to Shannon Morrison twice. Rachel from A&R also sent an email today, because she's being very helpful with doing a short-term H&H hydrologic study for the culvert.
She's our, okay, she's our river scientist, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions or comments from the board? So we need a motion to authorize submission of the grant.
That'd be great.
Is there a motion?
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sweet.
Larissa? Yep. Okay. So we need to amend the agenda. First, we're going to have public forum. If there's anybody here for something that's not on the agenda, public comments? No? And then, are there any changes to the agenda? And I've got several. I want to add signing an authorization letter for Sullivan and Powers to undertake our annual audit. We want to add a Class 2 liquor license for the Village Grocer, which came in today. So I want to add that with the liquor license for Afterthoughts. Move Sullivan and Powers down in front of the passive grant application. And also, I want to put authorizing a select board member to attend and vote at the annual Vermont League of Cities and Town meeting on October 7th. Is that okay? Any other changes? Great. And with that, we'll move on to Mad River Path, discussion of pathway.
No, liquor license.
Oh, sorry, yep, sorry, liquor
And,
licenses.
yeah, sorry, because Emily, I think, is here from Afterthoughts. Because this is her, so our new policy, if everybody remembers, this year we changed it from 3 appearances before the select board to basically 2. This will be Afterthoughts' second appearance before the select board. I think, Emily, are you on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
So Emily, we asked people to come back after the first time, just to check in, to make sure that everything's going fine. There haven't been any problems with, liquor control, just to make sure you're keeping your training for your servers all up to date.
Yep, a couple of our staff have just renewed their licenses, and we're all good. No issues so far, knock on wood.
Great. And then, as York said, Village Grocer,
They don't need to.
they don't need to appear. They've been here several times in the past. So, any questions or comments about the liquor licenses? Motion to approve them?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Sorry.
We're so excited.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go to
Thank
the
you,
path.
Emily.
Thanks, Emily.
Discussion of path co-location with wastewater project along Route 100. And I'm not really sure that's accurately describes the meeting agenda items. Is that true, Misha? I think
That's true, Brian.
it's more an update on the scoping study and the possibility of extending the path in one way or another from Warren Village to Irisville.
Correct. And this is a scoping study for you, all $120-some to print it, included.
The director was in here earlier, they had a clipboard with a blue piece of paper, and he's wondering if I can grab it for you, or for him.
A clipboard?
A clipboard with a blue piece of paper on it?
I don't think that's it. I didn't see a clipboard in here.
Josh,
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
could you hand me the clipboard, please?
I don't
The
think-
guests could use it.
If we come across it, we'll put it downstairs with the clerk.
Where else?
Charlie?
York, would you hit play on that? No, it's just something to write on.
Where is my?
If you go to slideshow at the top bar,
Oh, yeah, thank
and
you.
then do play from the start. Nice, thank you.
Larissa, can you see am I sharing the screen?
I can, yes, thank you.
You're welcome to, I don't know what the rules are. Judge, what the rules.
Come on up. Gonna be great.
Thanks, Charlie. Great, thank you for having me over, and thank you for the members of the Active Transportation
And
Advisory
I'd like to
Board.
remind folks, could you all sign in, please, so we got you're doing it. Thank you. Sorry. Great.
Thank you for the advisory board members to come over as well. We will talk today about the completed scoping study and look at the, what our next steps are. York, you could move forward to the next slide. So, a little bit of history. For over 30 years, Medra Path Board and volunteers held a vision for connecting Warren and Waitsfield with an unbroken bike and pedestrian path. You can move forward. You may remember that in the summer of '24, with support from town and 4 other towns, and an $84,000 transportation alternative grant, we started an active transportation corridor scoping study. We can move forward. And during the study, we had to, according to the Agency of Transportation rules, we had to evaluate 3 alternatives. Alternative A would improve existing trails only. Alternative B would add widened bike lanes along our paved roads, 100 and 100B. And alternative C would build a 10-foot separated path from traffic. We've held 2 public events, and first event was presentation of alternatives and explaining what alternatives are. And the second event was giving people opportunity to vote on the alternatives. And then subsequently to the event, that voting was extended online, so over 200 people participated. And the vote of this was 218 out of 280 votes were supporting a fully separated shared use path connecting Waitsfield, and we started with Moortown, but we ended in Middlesex, because that's what study is about. It's about getting public opinion and getting people to come out and talk about what's important to them. So based on this, and because of how these studies are structured, the engineers were charged with creating a model that separates path from the road. And that's the model that was endorsed by Agency of Transportation. And the study is now completed and final to move forward. So the preferred alternative was identified to be a hybrid alternative that prioritizes safety by constructing a 10-foot wide shared use path with improving the existing trails. So in other words, instead of going along 100 for the entire 19 miles from Warren to Moortown, it is preferred to, whenever possible, use the existing trails, and whenever possible, create more trails away from the corridor. The study was very clear in the study that we should be using corridor as a last resort, because building in a corridor is exponentially more important, as we learned during more expensive, as we learned during the study, compared to improving existing trails or building away from the corridor. Well, this alternative will provide safe, active transportation access for all ages and all abilities. It will link villages to schools, businesses, you heard that before, and recreation areas. It will serve as a major tourism and economic development driver. It will create a Vermont premier multimodal corridor. We can move forward. The phasing was a very important part of the study to identify how do we actually get it done. So phasing prioritizes segments that close gaps between the existing sections of the path. These are like low-hanging fruit opportunities where construction of a relatively short segment of an off-road path creates several miles of connectivity. And I'll illustrate that with the map on the next slide. So here is phases 1 and 2. So I don't know if it's too small, and I apologize if this is too small for you all to see. So this is illustrating connecting Warren on the left, and on the right, I just couldn't quite make it. But if you look on the right, on the far right, what you're seeing is the rec hub. On the far right, where the loop there is coming to intersection of 117. So this is Warren to Waitsfield connector. We're effectively connecting to our existing trails in Waitsfield. And if we start at Warren School, we have an existing Warren path. And then going down the Brook Road and Main Street in Warren, the decision was made this is an appropriate place because of the low speed limits, low traffic, right place to build a bike lane because there's already all sorts of traffic calming measures in place. To the intersection with 100, make a pedestrian crossing with the rapidly flashing beacon for safety. And then, because we have a river right away and river constriction, instead go on West Hill Road and Allen Lane. And that's a scenic road, very, very, very little hills, and that could be also striped with a bicycle lane. When we come out back on 100, we have a 1.1 mile on off-road within a right-of-way path, which connects us to Riverside Park.
When you say within the right-of-way?
Within the right-of-way, yes, Judge.
Within the Route 100?
Within the
right-of-way?
Route 100 right-of-way. This is fairly simple because the right-of-way here is 100 feet wide. There's plenty of right-of-way to do it. There's no right-of-way issues. We cross at Riverside Park, and then we have this beautiful connectivity of Kingsbury Greenway. We cross the bridge, Kingsbury Bridge. We have Cloudwater Farm. We cross again, and we have Yestermorrow. Continuing with the study, then we have a break between Yestermorrow and Bundy Road, and we have a break between, we have an agreement with Medbush Falls, so we can get all the way to Ralston Road. We have a break between Ralston Road and Munfield. Within both of those breaks, we have multiple opportunities. So what study identified is that we should let it be for now, but focus instead of a Waitsfield path, which is 0.9 mile, which would connect Munfield with LaRoe Bridge. From LaRoe Bridge, we have Austin Path, and then 400 feet to get us to Dugway Road and to the existing Fiddler's Walk. And we connected Warren and Waitsfield. So effectively, here, most likely, by building just 2 miles of path along the road, we can connect the two villages. Notwithstanding that middle half a mile, but there are a lot of opportunities there, and I wouldn't talk about this now. It was believed in the study that if we came to it from 2 different directions, we would have easier time closing that gap. Are there any questions on the map before I move forward? Okay.
Is that the Waitsfield Path portion, the 0.9 miles, is that all in the Route 100 corridor?
There will be a Route 100 corridor, and this is where we, because our corridor narrows to 50 feet, and because the road is not in the center of the corridor, we're gonna have to be negotiating small little strips, like 3-5 feet of right-of-way. The people, our landowners, would need to be amiable to giving us a few feet of right-of-way to fit the path.
That's what section?
That's on the section, yellow section, Fred, Waitsfield Path, 0.9 mile. That's from Munfield to LaRoe Bridge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Thank you. We can move forward. So this I'm not gonna go in details with this, but study was very, very detailed. So we identified, okay, so how do we achieve those phases 1 and 2? Because that was identified as priority. It was identified that connecting Warren and Waitsfield is most achievable and most desirable, because that's where we have a lot of bike traffic. We have our ski resorts for all the reasons you know. I don't need to repeat it. So then this is spelled out. This is on 2 pages because I couldn't fit it on 1 page. Spelled out with estimated completion, with what would be the funding source and what would be the cost. Move forward to page 2. And so this phase 1 to completion comes to just over $4 million. That does not include what we don't know. And we don't know how much it's going to cost to stripe Ellen Lane, West Hill Road, and do the crossing along 100. And was one more thing we didn't know, TBD. Not that, but the cost on the previous page.
Yeah.
York, would you help me please
Yeah, of course.
for a second? So
Warren Village?
yes, tomorrow, Munfield. And the reason that it's TBD is because we don't know how to go about it, so we couldn't price it. Everything else we actually priced. Everything else is based on quotes that we have gotten either from Du Bois and King or from trail building companies that would improve the existing sections of the path. Okay. So that's the, with all things go well, we could achieve this in 5 years if all stars align and everybody come together. Move forward. So this is obviously a long-term commitment that requires sustained effort by everybody. This isn't going to work if, say, Warren says yes, Waitsfield says we don't know. If this requires all organizations, all businesses come together, because the funding for this will need to come from all sources, from grants, federal grants, state grants, donations, and Medrup Path as a small organization could carry only in coalition with everybody together. Because the way we've carried the scoping study was a good illustration of how it can be done. Well, we are a very small organization, but the planning district supported us, and all the nonprofits supported us. So in that way, working together, we were able to do the scoping study, and it was a lot of fun too. So we could move forward. Before making an ask of you, I want to point out that Waitsfield Town Plan, this is right from the scoping study, highlights the Medrup Path as a significant element of town's recreation and transportation infrastructure. Recent expansions undertaken by Medrup Path in collaboration with landowners create opportunities for future interconnected trail network. This network aims to connect key areas such as Irisville, Warren Village, and Waitsfield Village, enhancing non-motorized access and supporting growing recreation economy. So this scoping study really neatly fits in our town plan because we are following right along with what Medrup Path prior to my time was charged with doing. So thank you, Charlie, for hiring me to implement Waitsfield Town Plan. We can move forward. And so hence the ask. We are asking Waitsfield to invest in the future of the sustainable community and economic development by endorsing the scoping report and supporting Medrup Path in pursuing the implementation of funding. Sorry for the mistake, but you get the gist.
Anybody else want to speak to it? Who's here from the board or elsewhere?
Yeah, I'll just say a few things. I've lived here almost 60 years. 30 of those I spent on this board. And I think from the moment I arrived in this valley, I had an allegiance or an interest in public infrastructure, whether it was water, sewer, but paths and sidewalks and boardwalks and walkways and a lot of things I don't know what year it was when the select board decided to build that gravel sidewalk from Bridge Street to Village Square. There was some pushback that nobody would ever want to walk from Bridge Street to Village Square, but it turns out that that wasn't the case, and we proceeded to build a network of sidewalks that we now have that are maintained and can be traveled year-round. Some of you remember trying to walk from town meeting to the church for the church dinner, and we basically used to have to walk in Route 100 because the sidewalk was just glare ice and mud and so forth. So I think what Misha's just presented and what we've been working on for since you came on board, this active transportation path is the next generation, I think, of infrastructure in this valley that will pull a lot of things together and make use of a lot of the smaller trails and paths and boardwalks that we've been able to establish. So I'm just here to, I'm actually a member of the board, so I'm pretty familiar with the effort that's gone on to get this far. But as Misha pointed out, it's not going to work if Waitsfield decides not to support it, or we need general support, and we've certainly demonstrated that from the general public, but the select boards don't always follow the general public. Anyways, I spent a lot of Monday nights over the years in this room, and a lot of stuff that comes before the board is somewhat trivial perhaps, but I think this is a major project, and I'd love to see it go forward. That's my input.
Anybody else? Candace?
Thank you. I just want to speak as one of your state representatives and also as a member of the Waitsfield community. As a state representative, I'm on the transportation committee. We talk a lot about bike and pedestrian infrastructure, and there's real support for this, and across party lines, at least on our committee. I see this as kind of a hopeful thing, given some of the other really large, really big finance challenges that we have on the state level. So, seeing projects like this, which when you compare to what our school budget is or what our, healthcare, this is not big money compared to that, and this is like hopeful. And I think, so I'm very supportive, and I'm working with Misha, trying to get some legislative support, bring some people from Agency of Transportation to see this and just become aware of it. They talk all the time about the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail and what a huge success that is for Vermont. So I feel like this is a great time. I'm so impressed with what Misha has done with this project, which I feel like a lot of us have been dreaming about for many years, but really never saw how we could actually accomplish this. So seeing a plan with some numbers and in place, I think it's just so exciting. On a personal level, my kids went to Waitsfield School. The bike to school with your kids, I was so excited to do that with my children when they were in elementary school, and we live maybe 2 miles from the school, and we rode our bikes down Village Woods and Tremblay and got onto Route 100, and I guess I had assumed that there might be traffic, something might be going on to help. In any event, I was riding with my 2 elementary school children on Route 100. It was a terrifying experience to the point where we ditched our bikes in a stranger's yard and hitchhiked to Waitsfield School. And so it was a terrible experience. It was totally my fault, but the idea of kids being able to ride their bikes to school and get some exercise in the morning and to start school, you know, having exercise so the teachers don't, it's just, there's so many benefits to this. So I just want to say I'm a very strong supporter of this. And I think a lot of Waitsfield residents are as well.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Carrie Thomas. I am a resident of Facein, but come at this with multiple hats on. One, I'm a member of the Mad River Path Board. Obviously, I'm a member of the Mad River Valley community. I kind of think of this as a valley, not so much as a bunch of diced up communities, because we all utilize all the resources that stretch from Moortown to, well, Middlesex really, to Warren. And then professionally, I'm the director of the Northern Forest Canoe Trail, which puts me in a position on the VOREC Steering Committee, which is the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative. It's a governor-appointed committee that helps support the state's perspective and movement around outdoor recreation, particularly from a stewardship perspective and from an economic development perspective. So from that perspective, I see all over the state so much energy going towards these types of projects where there's just so many people encouraging and supporting the idea that outdoor recreation can be an economic driver in communities. From a personal perspective, I think it's much more important that this is something that supports people who want to live here. I don't know anyone. I moved here 10 years ago with a child who was 2 and one who was 5. And we spent so many days driving to Stowe because there was a bike path where you could ride with your kids. And if we had something like that locally, it would have been such a better place to raise my kids at that point. And I think, you know, what Candace was saying is a much more extreme version of that perspective. But, you know, if we want people to move here and live here and build their lives here, this is one of those things that's going to follow people from, you know, the first 2-year-old or younger, people pushing prams on the bike path, 2-year-olds learning how to ride their bikes, teenagers getting around the valley, elementary school kids, but then, you know, as kind of middle adults moving from, you know, this mountain bike trail to that mountain bike trail. And then as you get older, you're going to want a place that is quieter and protected and that you're going to be able to continue to be active and outside. And so I feel like this linkage is going to be an incredible draw for people who want to actually live here and be here on a long-term basis. It's going to be a real advantage for our communities.
Ellie?
I would just say, in my, I don't have as many years as Charlie on the board in Moortown, but I would just mention that also the landscape has changed in a way that I think, and we don't even have to say because of COVID or whatever, because before COVID, that this is not just about recreation, it's also about a way of people getting around without getting in a car. You know, to go to work, to go to the store, to go to school or whatever, friend, church, however you want to be, especially with the onset of e-bikes. And I can speak to that directly because I get around the valley on an e-bike like all the time and to doctor's appointments and such. So this would be a real added plus for the whole community. And not just thinking of it in terms of recreation, which of course it is, but it also provides that aspect.
Anybody else have any?
I do.
I'm here representing the Mad River Riders, and we're working closely with the PATH on this project. And I agree with all the reasons that were said before. I live in Waitsfield. I used to commute to Waitsfield Elementary with my daughter all the time, and bits of 100 were frightening. But from the riders' perspective, this really helped the network that we have. We have a kind of a disparate network of trails that are quite good in this valley. And they're in little different pods spread around the valley. And this path, just this part we're talking about here, from Warren to Waitsfield, links together a bunch of our different trailheads in a safe way, which should make it a draw for people to move here and live here, and a draw for people to come and visit too, I think, very strongly. Because right now, it's to access all the cool stuff we have, you gotta ride on 100 a lot, which is frightening. So.
Josh?
Yeah, Josh Schwartz, Waitsfield resident, but representing the Matter Valley Planning District. And the idea of a separated pathway along the Route 100 corridor in this area has been envisioned for a really long time. And just in a short bit of that history, 9 years ago was the Matter Valley MRV Moves Active Transportation Plan, which envisioned a way to integrate the different active transportation pieces of the puzzle that we have, from trails and on-road facilities. And it identified this stretch, which is as the sort of spine of the system to make those types of connections, but specifically connecting our villages and our schools and the primary destinations. And it was the #1 identified piece of infrastructure in that entire plan. And it's been an honor to be able to support the PATH and their leadership on this project, and to through Sam, my coworker, who spent a lot of time working with Misha directly, and the larger effort together to go from a plan and an idea to something that has numbers and phases and components, and a lot of the work that's gone into making this real. I feel like we're quite close, and it's been an honor to be a part of it.
Just a second, Alice, just want to make sure everybody who's here
It's fine.
on behalf of the board gets a chance, and, okay?
Ditto everything, I don't need to add to it.
Alice?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna give you guys some advice, and this is meant to be helpful to you. Moving forward with this project, and you do have a ways to go, as I understand, working with CVRPC transportation planners and on the CVRPC transportation the transportation group. You've already worked with Reuben McMartin at the CVRPC. He's a CVRPC transportation planner, and I think he was the one that first helped you put together the grant for this high-level consultant study. I would encourage you to continue to work with CVRPC and gain knowledge from Reuben on the process and on the steps you still need to go through to bring this path to a reality. This is not a shovel-ready project yet. This study that was done is a very high-level project, and right now it's winding its way through VTrans departments for some markups, including VTrans Environmental Department. The other thing that's happening, and be aware, is it's also a very tough time right now for VTrans, and will be for other state departments. VTrans has been tasked with eliminating $7.5 million from their budget. And that's because we're just not getting the federal monies trickling down like they used to. So you also need to be aware of that and how that might affect any funding options and grants for you. This is meant to be advice. Anything to be known about VTrans in the process is well known with our planners at CVRPC, that's Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, and they're there to help you through the process.
Thanks, Alice. Anybody else who's on Zoom want to weigh in?
I think this is exciting. I know that there's still a point of connection between where things are right now and what fruition looks like. But I also still want to acknowledge that there's been a lot of work and time and effort put into making this possible. I'm currently in Providence, Rhode Island, and it's easier for me to walk to the woods here. It's easier for me to bike to a playground here than it is in Vermont, and that kind of boggles my mind, I'm not gonna lie. So, in any event, I'm excited to see what happens next. And I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I'm really glad that we are where we are now.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just have a question for you guys in that I would preface by saying hugely supportive of this effort. This is awesome. This is exactly what the community needs, what other communities like Stowe and Lamoille and others have benefited from. The question though is how we balance the need for this type of active path with trails. Like we've clearly, the community has vested a bunch in Scrag Forest, for example. How do we balance that? There's always more stuff to do than we have money for. How do you guys think about that from a user demand perspective, or any guidance you can give us there?
Well, if you look at the trajectory of mature trail networks, you go from creation of trail pods, where you build trails in specific areas, to recognition that if you keep doing it forever, there is that you run into problems with ecology and with displacing wildlife, and hence we had conservation recreation visioning process for the last 3 years. So then you realize that if you connect the existing trail pods, you're actually creating an incredible trail network where one can ride for a day or for days, for many days. In our case, connecting us to Vellamont, that would come in from Warren, stay on the path, and exit the valley. I won't go into details of this now. So this is the strategy to turning the existing trails network into mature trails network that's a lot more interesting and serves yet more users. Because an advanced user doesn't need to get in the car to go from Blueberry Lake to Howe Block. They can ride the whole way. So that's, I think, is the answer. How that fits into the trails picture.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm thinking from, is there data on like hikers versus bikers? Like the benefit for bikers is clear. I'm just thinking like again, the Scrag Forest, where the original trails weren't particularly user-friendly for many, and they're slowly being improved, and that's awesome and creating more access. Again, is there...
We have some like trail count data and trail survey data for our trails, and they're actually about 50% bikes on Mad River Riders trails and 50% people are on foot. It's about the average across everything. So there's a surprising number of people hiking on walking the dogs and stuff. So they're they're multi-use and one of ours. Yeah, I agree with Misha that this linking them this way is a way to allow us to kind of be conservationally cognizant and have large uninterrupted forest blocks. If there's one thing I learned in all our CRB work over the last 3 years, is that's like the single most important thing. So we can kind of maintain large forest blocks like that and still have connectivity between the trails and the places that we're walking at.
There's also an accessibility point, and not just like parking or whatever, but the trail, Misha was talking about on Ellen Lane being not too steep, right? So as someone who walks or runs a lot of the Mad River trails, there can be some pretty steep ones there, right? So the path that's envisioned would be accessible for a lot of different modes, and also the level of variation for height and being able to run a wheelchair on them or any of those things. So I think that there's me thinking that way. I think that you not only gain the connection between the two, but you open to some parts of our population that may not have been able to access the kinds of trails that there's been so much investment in.
And that's what Kaya just brought out. Also, to your point, that balances out the trails that we have in the valley, because we have a lot of advanced level trails and considerable amount of intermediate level trails, and hardly any real beginner trails where a child could learn how to ride a bike, etc.
Does any of the board have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll just jump in really quickly, just to say thanks for all the work that's been done on this. And since I moved here, this has been a dream that I'd love my kids to be able to ride, and if not my kids, then the next set of kids. But I'm a veteran of going to Stowe and riding on that bike path, and I just hope we can do whatever we can to support this and make it happen. Especially, there are a lot of challenges, as many people have mentioned, but we'll do what we can, I think, or I hope we can.
When I had Josh's job, and the Path Association was just formed in the early 90s, I remember walking from Irishville to Warren Village with Clesson Irish and Arthur Williams and a handful of other folks, Ellen Sanford Strauss. So it's been out there for a long time, and it's the first time we've really seen momentum. So I appreciate that as well. I have to say, I hate to do this, but to be a downer, but I was scrolling through my news feed this evening before the meeting, and an article in Bloomberg, the Trump administration canceled grants for street safety measures, pedestrian trails, and bike lanes in communities around the country this month, each time offering a simple rationale for yanking back federal aid. The projects aren't designed for cars. They referred to them as being hostile to cars. I'm just saying that to acknowledge, and we've talked about this, Mishi, it's going to be a challenge, and you're going to need a lot of different sources of funding and support. And so, we have a lot of needs in town, but I think, as you said, if we can, cobble together enough different sources, we can make it work. So I'm just, Fred, do you have anything? So you would like our endorsement for the scoping study and the Path Association's plans to move forward with planning and trying to find funding mechanisms?
Correct, because as you may remember, we had an AmeriCorps service member this summer, Emily, and when she finished her service, she asked if she could become a grant specialist. So we have built our capacity and now Emily's sole work is to finding money for this project. So we'll be coming to you soon for asking you for letters of support. It would be really handy if I didn't have to come to the select board meeting for every letter of support. If you were to support us pursuing funding, obviously I would need to come to you when we would come upon funding that requires local match. But there are other grants that don't, and so that's one reason to do it, is just to simplify, recognize that I'm working across 5 towns, and it's just a lot of work. So the way it worked out with Warren is really well. Warren endorsed the project, and so now when I write a letter of support, I created a form for that. So I send it to Rebecca, and Rebecca is authorized to just pass it on to Devin, and it just saves a lot of time. So that's why asking you to endorse it and to support us in looking for funding.
Saving time on our agenda is always appreciated. We need careful motion. I guess, how would we want to?
So
Authorize York to sign such letters.
Do you want me to sign them or move the process
Move
to
the
the
process
chair?
to the chair, yeah, I think so.
That's fine. So we just, a motion to support the Path Association effort to move forward with planning and fundraising for the path.
And to support the scoping study.
I would so move.
Second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Great, thanks for the time and for all the work.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
excited. Yeah. Nice. See you.
Sorry, Brian, before we move on to the next item,
Yep.
I was just looking, the festival permit request for the PTA
Yes?
is at the very end. But I'm pretty sure it's something that we typically support. I don't know if that could be on the consent agenda. Basically,
You mean
Yeah.
can it be earlier if it needs to be discussed, and if not,
As far as
can
I'm
it just be the
concerned,
consent agenda?
it could have been on the consent agenda.
I agree.
The reason I didn't is because there was also the letter requesting that that we don't charge. And so
Right.
that's the way I put it in, because I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So I realize it's kind of late in the game to ask to make a change, but
But let
I
me
just
ask,
don't know.
is anybody going to raise any issue or concern, or are we going to
No.
support the ski and skate sale for the,
Oh.
what time is it, the 30th?
There's more than that, more than that.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, yes.
So I think you're good.
So we'll
I
add
wasn't
it.
even here to speak to it, but I just figured I'd say it just in case. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. So we'll add that to consent agenda, was that the,
Or we'll just vote, we'll just approve it.
when we get there?
General White House. Fire alarm system upgrade.
All right, so this came up with the General Way House Commission. It's been a couple months, and I've kind of stalled on it just because it's been busy, but I circled back to it as the General Way House Commission wanted us to. You basically have to push, turn it on. I put it in the town administrator report, which I think lays it out pretty well. Essentially, the long story is if we change, okay, let me back up, sorry. There's two phone lines
You
that
did
go.
explain it very clearly in the.
I know.
in your
There's two
report.
phone lines that go into the fire alarm.
Yeah.
The reason this primarily came up is because when there's a power failure, it can trigger the alarm, which is suspected to have caused sometimes the Wi-Fi to go out, which has been a struggle for the renters in the General Way House. So that's what started this conversation. So essentially, the cost of putting in a cellular communicator is $1,098.78, which would mean we get rid of the two phone lines. We will recoup that cost in 14 months. The cost goes from, I remember it was $299 to $499, and yet still it's going to be much cheaper because the cellular is like $25 a month versus over $100 a month for the two phone lines. So the General Way House Commission would like the select board to approve this purchase.
Any questions or discussion? Just seems like we're updating technology to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
I would so move.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Foundation assessment for the dairy barn. Can you clarify, when I read Elliot's report, there's the horse barn and the dairy barn.
It's the same.
Okay, that's what I
Our
thought.
It's the
understanding
same. I think it really was dairy, but he labeled it horse.
It's the one with the stalls.
It's the one that's all whitewashed,
Yeah,
which indicates it's dairy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fred, do you want to speak to this and the next item, or do you want me to?
Oh, you're so good at it, go for it.
Okay, so the foundation, I think we talked about it a few months ago. The General Way House Commission has been working on this long-term plan. The next stage of this plan, it's been painted, the roof, is to work on the dairy barn. This is basically a two-parter. One, they would like basically the select board's approval to remove everything from the interior. It's not considered historical apparently, according to the Elliott report, for example. And that would be step one of bringing the dairy barn to what the next vision for that space would be. The second item is the foundation assessment. Miles Jenis of Vermont Heavy Timber and I visited that site a few months ago, primarily because he was really excited about it. He had some ideas for how you jack it up and what that would look like. But that would have a cost attached to it to come up with a true quote and what that plan would look like. And he was gonna work on a quote, and has not been able to get it to me yet. So, there's not much to say about the quote. There was a lively discussion that we had at the General Way House Commission last week about the dairy barn, and we can go into that if Fred or Larissa would like to. But those are the two asks. But since Miles has not been able to get me the quote yet, I don't, if anyone has a discussion about it, that's fine, but they would like to be able to start removing the interior from the dairy barn, not counting the stairs.
Yeah, and there's one other item, I can't remember now what it was, but generally, and I'd be glad to, if you haven't been through the dairy barn, I'd be glad to set up a time when you can go and take a look at it. But it's in pretty disrepair, much disrepair, and we're just talking about the inner furniture, if you will, the stalls, the pens. There's a grain bin there.
A lot of it's fixed though, right? So it would be.
It would not affect the structure.
Yeah.
I call it, you could call it furniture, pick it up and move it out type of thing. But before this commission did anything like remove those type of things, we'd want the select board to.
Are any of them historic elements that might?
I'd have to defer to someone with that type of knowledge. To me, it's pretty much an old cow barn, complete with everything. I see nothing. You know, I stand back and I look at it and I see a cute feature to it, but that's only because I know what I'm looking at. It's nothing. Its highest and best use is what the commission's gonna tackle this next winter. The carriage barn and the dairy barn. What is the highest and best use of that space going forward? And keeping it as a show, something to look at just isn't it, I'm sure.
Well, I had that question. Are we reluctant to put too much money into something that we don't know what the end result, you know, what it's gonna serve? So it's good to hear that the commission is thinking through what the highest and best use is. And maybe it'll help inform that discussion if we know what the costs associated with the new foundation are.
Right. Well, that's something we're investigating right now. Richard Backus is looking into it for us, a member of the commission.
You know, I had just a conversation with Gib Geiger about something else, and this came up. This was like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And he seemed to think there might be a not really expensive fix. That it might not.
I think so
It might not be
too.
as big a deal as some folks think.
There might be an inexpensive.
There might be an inexpensive.
Yes,
My
I
understanding was
concur.
basically shoring up the foundation instead of raising the foundation and then just putting a new floor in, I think was what Gib's idea was, if I remember correctly, which would be far less expensive. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, yeah.
But to do that type of work, the stalls and the pens need to be removed. And I
Yeah.
guess that's what the commission is asking permission to do.
So we don't have the, we can't approve Miles' assessment, but we can approve emptying the barn.
Yes. That's the guidance that the commission is asking for.
Yep.
Is that work we would hire out, or?
I think it can be done with volunteer work. I think it can be done very cheaply. We might have to have, pay to get rid of the waste.
Yeah.
But as far as gutting, I really hate to use that term, but removing those stalls and pens and chicken wire and all of that stuff that's in there, I think it can be done cheaply with volunteer work.
Okay.
And safely?
Yeah, no, that stuff's not up high or anything, it's all ground level.
A good pair of boots, a good pair of boots.
I was gonna say face masks and make sure everybody's tetanus shot is up to date.
Yeah, you know, appropriate PPE.
Yeah.
Sorry, I live in a world of vaccinations.
EDAP is your friend, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd accept the commission's recommendation on this,
Is that a motion?
and I'd make a motion to accept the commission's recommendation on removing the interior of the dairy barn.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, and then, and we'll likely see a estimate from Miles at the next meeting. And then the bylaw review, commission's undertaking review, select board role and potential updates.
That was just, I think the General Way House Commission wanted, they had hoped to have something to the select board by tonight, but it's more complicated than I think they thought at first. And I think Larissa and I
Yep.
talked about it and just thought it would be good for the select board to have somewhat of a role in helping with that conversation. Does that sound about right?
Well, I know that the initial draft of the bylaws, I think that came from the select board, correct? That was of Fred and Brian, right? And I feel like there were specific intentions as to what the bylaws would accomplish, and I thought that it would be good now that the commission has been in existence for a little while to pause and take a look at whether or not those intended outcomes are in fact being achieved. And I think that there are some instances in which we might want to re-examine the way that the commission is structured potentially. And especially if we're trying to create a collaborative, cooperative relationship between the Historical Society and all of the other community-oriented renters. Now, what that exactly looks like, I'm not sure, but I do think that it's worth examining.
Can I say something, Larissa, about this?
Go ahead, Alice.
One of the things, I'm sorry, is it okay, Brian?
Go ahead.
Just very quickly, keep in mind that we are a very new board. It's only been in existence for a year. And, well, even less than a year. And one of the things that was part of us forming a new board was to resolve the issue of any kind of tension between us. I mean, it was like tension between us and the select board and tension between us and the tenants.
Clarification.
And that was part of the reason why and it's all new people. We're gaining new members. And we really want to do our thing. We're looking at our purpose and get back and reinvigorate the Historical Society.
Okay.
We're getting new members, we have a new archivist. So I'm kind of like, can we just wait and see how it goes? Because certainly, we're not out to cause any blocks or tension, we just want it to be over.
Well, that's exactly it. It's intentions versus outcomes. And I'm sorry, Fred, go ahead.
I want to clarify, Alice was responding as a Waitsfield Historical Society board member. She was speaking about the Historical Society. In
Yes.
reality, both the commission hasn't been in existence a year yet. And look what we
Right.
have done. I think we've done some amazing work over there in less than a year. I projected it was going to take a year just to find board members enough to populate the commission. And
Well, I agree with you completely, and you had a very supportive select board
Yeah.
to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think the tensions that existed, I don't think are as acute necessarily, and I really appreciate what the Historical Society has been doing to revitalize itself. I do think, I guess I have to agree with Larissa, let's take a look and see how it's going. One thing that makes me think that is I read the minutes to the last commission meeting, and when Josh said, I can't vote on this, I don't know what's going on, the tenants have a representative who cycle through, so they're not really engaged members, and then he's expected to take the minutes to the meeting, which puts him at a further disadvantage. I do think there might be some things
Yep.
about just the balance of power, not power, but just the balance of participation, that
Yeah.
everybody should be, have equal access to
Well,
meeting participation.
let's toss this back to the commission
Yeah.
and let them work on it.
Yep.
We didn't have an opportunity to really discuss it at our last meeting. So let's toss it back to the commission and let them chew on it.
And I guess.
And
just-
come back to us.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. And I guess to follow up with Larissa, I do think, I personally want to make sure that kind of public service use of the building, the community service and access to it for activities, whatever, that we've tried to support within reason, is an important part of the mix, along with historic preservation.
I don't see any threat to that,
I don't either.
none whatsoever. I think it's mutually supporting,
I do too.
and if it isn't, it should be.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I mean, is that like the intentions are that is what is happening, or that is a hope for what is happening. I have gotten conflicting reports from folks as to whether or not that is the shared experience of all community members who work in the General Wade House. I feel like having a transparent conversation about that is not a bad thing. That doesn't mean we need to stop everything, overhaul everything. And I should have prefaced this by saying that the work that is being done is incredible, remarkable, and so appreciated. I want to make sure that the commission continues to be set up for success moving forward. I think there has been a great deal of success thus far, and I just see a couple of bumps that could be addressed directly, like it sounds like Carol Chamberlain has the bandwidth to take minutes. For instance, I mean, that's a pretty low hanging fruit kind of thing. To allow the current structure as it stands to allow for the renter representatives to actively participate instead of also taking notes. So that's kind of the scope of what I think is important right this minute, but I also think that we may need to have some kind of difficult conversations.
Yeah, minutes should be posted to the website also.
Yeah, I don't know if they are.
No.
But
I've
both
never gotten
organized.
You-
I'm saying,
I think there were some issues with EcoPixel access, but
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
with the system that was taking place, it was I didn't get the minutes. So moving forward, and, you know, I reached out to Carol, she's willing to do it. I would actually, and I probably should have put this in, I think I put it in the town administrator report maybe. Maybe officially approve Carol of doing, their minutes like she does, the planning commission, DRB, and, conservation commission, which is gonna be a huge asset, and then they'll come to me and I'll easily be able to put them on the website, for example.
Thank you for setting that up for the historical, for
Yeah,
the commission,
that's
for the
great.
commission. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. Because that has been a stumbling block. So we're solving things one at a time.
yeah.
So-
So I mean to imply otherwise. I think that the work that's being done is great. I think that moving forward, there are opportunities for further improvement.
Always.
So it'll be on a future agenda, and we'll get a draft and review it, and if we have any, I mean, ultimately, you're preparing a draft, we adopted it to begin with, and if we feel the need to make changes, we can have that conversation.
What I'm seeing, I haven't seen anything otherwise, it's just a few small tweaks. Mid-course corrections, whatever you like to call it. Nothing drastic. That's what I've seen.
So anything else regarding?
I think not at this time. I think once we have more information about what the foundation assessment will cost and what the sort of associated costs are for all of the possible options, there'll be more to talk about. And yeah, nothing else for me at least.
Okay, so we added a couple of things to the agenda. We have a motion to sign the letter of engagement with Sullivan and Powers to conduct our annual audit. It's at the cost that we put in the budget last year. We knew it, I think we had a 3-year cost estimate from them, and this is the 3rd year, if I remember correctly. So there's no surprises there.
Yeah, I'd make that motion for the board to sign the letter engaging Sullivan and Powers to conduct our annual audit.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And just, I also wanted to put on here, VLCT's annual meeting's coming up. I've been asked to serve on their board and will be voted on at that meeting. I'd like to be there unless somebody else wants to go. And in order to vote, we need to be designated by the select board as a representative of the town. So I would appreciate a motion unless somebody really wants to sit on a 2-hour Zoom
I
meeting.
think it's so wonderful, I think
You
it's
got this,
wonderful.
Brian.
Man, this is your ball.
Authorizing me to represent the town at the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Boy, there was a lot of discussion on that one.
I'm gonna fight you on this one.
And then we have a passive grant application. Passive, our insurance provider, has small grants for, it's basically, what would you call it? Minimize potential insurance claims, injuries and whatnot. And Nate, our water operator, would like to get this hydrant buddy and adjustable valve key. It basically turns a 2-person job into a 1-person job when they have to open and flush the 70-plus valves that are part of the system. I told him I'd put it here. It's probably, if we had thought through, maybe there's something in the road department that we want to do, so we should probably keep an eye on this in the future, but I think we're out of time to come up with something different. So if we could have a motion to approve that, we appreciate it. Fred, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm not quite capturing what it is that you want.
We're applying to authorization to apply for $2,500 grant for a $5,864 hydrant buddy. I
Got
forget
it.
the full name. And the balance
Tool,
of the
yeah.
money will be paid for from the water commission. It won't come out of town dollars.
I would so move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, moving on, and I just want to be clear, we have the Conservation Commission here for several items, but you will also be joining us for executive session, so you're in no hurry. I mean, other than the same hurry that we're in to get to an executive session.
Well, I
don't think we're all gonna stick around for executive
James
session.
won't be hanging around.
I was
for
just coming to
executive
support the
session, so-
Scrag Trail Work proposal.
Okay.
Do you want to?
You know, let's see how far, I don't think the ordinance discussion is gonna take that long.
Okay. Yeah, do you want to go to the ordinance?
Well, that's the next
That's
item.
next.
Yeah, are you ready to go to the ordinance? The traffic ordinance, we've been talking about for several months. It's basically a two-parter. I think the first was brought to us by the Sheriff's Department. If you look through the meeting packet or through the ordinance that's proposed, Vermont 100, Main Street in blue is what the wording was before. The new wording is Vermont is in yellow. The Sheriff's Department said that our ordinance did not show what the current speed limits are. If you remember 2 or 3 years ago, those speed limit areas changed. So so they ticket people in those areas, but we are not able to get about half of those proceeds because our ordinance do not match that. So this is just making it so the ordinance matches the actual speed limit locations.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
The yellow new language doesn't include the 50-mile-per-hour posting basically in the Moortown and Warren sides. Is that because that's like the state-owned road and that's the speed limit on a state highway or something? Or do we need to specifically add a 50-mile-an-hour zone?
I guess I can't entirely answer. This was the planning district worked with V-Trans to have this happen. And then Josh sent me exactly what V-Trans sent. And this is basically a replication of what they sent. So maybe the 50-mile-per-hour is automatic. That's a valid question. And part of the reason this wasn't on the agenda last time was because I hadn't heard back from Officer Meyer, Brent Meyer. And he helped and he gave comments and he did not say anything about that either.
Although the blue language does say.
It does.
A maximum
Yeah.
speed of 50 miles to the Warrentown line.
Yeah, and it says the same on the Moortown side. So I think we could approve it with
Just double checking.
opportunity to amend or something if we need to add that.
Yep. So should we, well, let's.
Keep going, yeah.
Come back
let's
to
just
that
one-
and go to the covered bridge.
All right, so the covered bridge, every bridge has a weight limit. Our covered bridges are included in those weight limits, which we have nothing to do with creating those weight limits. Those are all V-Trans. The Sheriff's Department, this also came from a conversation that I had with the Sheriff's Department. They often see trucks, especially 3/4-ton trucks, for example, with trailers, lawn mowing equipment going over the bridge, which just a 3/4-ton truck actually goes over the weight limit. So by the time you have a trailer, you're quite excessive. Right now, again, just like the speed limits, they can't ticket for a vehicle that goes under the covered bridge that exceeds the speed limit, the weight limit. So this is creating in ordinance what that would look like, and I can kind of go through it if you'd like, but it's just following the 3 tons and the 9 feet 6 inch for the Gray Uddy, and then also the Pine Brook, similar, although that's 5 tons and then 8 feet 9 inches. It creates exemptions, which are emergency vehicles actively responding to a call for service, including fire apparatus, ambulances, law enforcement vehicles, and town-owned vehicles engaged in official municipal operations such as road maintenance, infrastructure inspection, or public works duties, provided such use is necessary and unavoidable. And then there's, it's saying there's gonna be signage, as there is now. And then, the officers can give a citation for those that go over the bridge exceeding the weight limit. And then after, I think, talking to Fred, we added the liability for repair costs if the violation results in damage to the bridge structure. Violations shall be subject to penalties as outlined in Article 9, which is below, of this ordinance, and any applicable provisions of Vermont state law.
3/4 tons, not that big of a truck.
My truck is 300 pounds over the weight limit. And if I'm sitting in it.
350.
So that gives you some idea.
Yeah, and that is the weight limit.
Yeah. So technically, I can't drive my truck out,
For
my pickup truck.
Meadow Road.
No, for the covered bridge.
For the covered bridge. The covered bridge is a
The great-
3-ton limit.
It's 3-ton limit.
And Fred has the smallest 3-ton truck we have. There's no extended cab.
No, it's just a
bare bones.
It's not 3 ton, 3/4.
3/4 ton.
3/4 ton truck for a 3-ton bridge.
That's all right.
Your truck weighs like 6,300 pounds.
Wait, I'm very confused.
Now I gotta go back and check my documentation, I can't remember.
Yeah,
Anyway,
if it's 6,000 pound
no, I
weight
can't.
limit, it's not a 3/4 pound ton. That's,
No,
That's the
that-
payload.
It's the hauling capacity.
Yeah,
of the
that's the
vehicle.
payload.
Is the
It's
3/4
a,
ton.
yeah,
Industry
sense.
nomenclature.
yeah,
But that means that gets violated 100 times a day.
Yes.
or at least.
Oh,
Or we could really rake in the money.
Yeah, like every
Every other one.
commercial
Wow.
truck.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 3/4 ton doesn't refer to the weight of the truck, it refers to the towing capacity of the truck,
No, cargo capacity.
cargo capacity.
I can put,
Okay,
my
sorry.
3/4 ton truck, I can put 3/4 tons in the cargo bed.
Can you tell I do not own a truck?
No!
so are we creating
I guess
a
we,
backlash here?
I think it's a little bit up to the officer's discretion.
Judging from the this would allow them to pull Fred over if he went under the bridge. And they know that 3/4 ton trucks, I suspect from our conversations that they're not being that nitpicky, that they're more looking at the landscaping trucks that are going over. I mean, this is partially really relevant right now because floorboards are popping up. And they make the weight limit for a reason. And I'd say that's the biggest reason I support this, because I get phone calls and emails about wear and tear to the covered bridge, and if this will reduce that wear and tear, that I suspect the officers would pull people over for a week and nobody would go under it again once they get tickets.
Well, I would, it's usually the same deputy who patrols here, right?
Yeah, it's usually Davis Hart, sometimes
Yeah.
it's Brett Meyer.
Yeah, it would be good to tell them,
Yeah, I mean.
do some warnings for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it feels like a unloaded, full-size pickup truck should be able to travel across the covered bridge.
Mhm.
And a loaded one, maybe, if you've got a full load or you're dragging a trailer, maybe not.
That's too
but
much.
That just seems,
Excessive.
just hundreds of trucks drive, myself included, drive across that bridge every day.
Do we want to consider exempting 3/4 ton pickups?
I don't,
Empty.
Empty.
They have the authority to do that?
Well,
I thought that these limits were set by the state.
well, I suppose you could write the ordinance to say like, right now they can't ticket, so I would say logically, we could say that they could ticket at whatever weight we so choose.
Yeah.
But I'd have to check that I'd have to make
It's our
sure we do that
ordinance.
right, but I'd be happy to look into that.
It's our ordinance.
Yeah, we're exempting town vehicles and emergency, and that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Maybe you could look into that
Yeah.
and
Let's do that.
add the 50 miles to the Warren and Moortown lines, and we'll
Yeah.
bring it up next time.
Sorry, my kids are all calling me tonight.
Yeah, I mean, most full-size
Also,
pickup trucks are 6,000.
Article 9 is listed twice.
Add another
Yeah, and I have,
a
and
couple passengers.
Wait. Great.
yeah, no, and I kind of
catch.
messed up at the end of the end, section 7, section 8 of the second Article 9. So, I mean, there's a little work that I have to do there anyway.
Go ahead. Craig.
Thank you. Article 6, crosswalks, there's only 2 listed.
Yeah, that's,
I mean.
my understanding is because the rest are on Route 100, and the ones on Route 100 are V-Trans, and so we just have never had those included, I guess, and so I just didn't include them. If you want to include them, we probably could.
Would
I
we
would look
not-
into how we do that.
Would we not want to include the one down by the school?
I'm not against it by any means, it just hadn't been done and we hadn't talked about it in
Because
the
these are
meeting.
the two town road crosswalks.
Oh,
Yeah, those are V-Trans.
Okay.
With that said, we can ticket, for people going over the speed limit on Route 100. So
Maybe that's something
so
else to
could we
clarify.
ticket, I'm happy to, we never
Yeah,
talked about
I
it,
would
so I'll look
advocate
into
for
it.
the one right out here by the school.
Well, if we're gonna do that, we ought to just do all of them. But we ought to also make sure that it's not covered and if it's redundant and not damaging, why not? But
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 things. Okay.
And then at the very end, you have some questions.
Yeah, that's the 4th one. I think those must be questions, so Officer Meyer left tons of questions, and I spoke to those, and I guess I didn't speak to these, and so I just saw that too. And so I already have a note to clarify that, so it's good that we're
Okay.
pushing this.
All right,
But I think this was good so far.
yeah.
Yeah, there's, I think, a couple of redundancies in the section 3, like unpaved roads. And I think these predated New York. The
Yeah, I didn't even look at these.
Old Center Facein Road is listed twice. Has a carve out for 25 miles an hour, Town Highway 14. But then is also listed in the unpaved roads, uniform speed limit of 35. And I think parts of Common Road, they have a different, maybe in the same boat, they have a different town highway number, but it's up above it
Yeah,
says.
Brook Road is also, so,
It says a maximum speed of 30 miles per hour for its entire length of Common Road. But then down below it says Town Highway 18, part of Common Road. So that if we're trying to
yeah.
keep our ticketing income, that would be good to clarify.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even look at that part, so maybe I should have.
Okay, so we'll have this on the next agenda.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, the goal is to make it right the first time.
Yeah.
And we also have our animal control.
One,
Go ahead.
maybe have the deputy sheriff take a look at this himself?
I'll have, and I had before, and
Okay.
then I'll make the adjustments or ask questions for some of them. And I'll probably have to ask V-Trans about a couple of these questions too. And, yeah, I mean, I'll keep them looped in, so it might be a little while. It took them a few
Yeah.
weeks to respond this first time.
Yeah.
I think they're busy, but, yeah, I think that was good. That was very constructive, and I look forward to making it better.
So the animal control ordinance, you basically incorporated the dog ordinance into the animal control ordinance and made a couple of changes to the animal control ordinance in addition to incorporating the dog ordinance as a separate section. You define aggressive behavior and have an enforcement provision. And those are the two big changes, correct?
Yes, so this started with Fred as our acting animal control officer, struggling with enforcement, and there being only one way in this current domestic animal ordinance. So what we essentially did was kind of copy the dog ordinance that we currently have and put it in, so there's essentially 2 branches instead of just the one that's originally there, it's there currently, with fines from the constable or the sheriff's department. We can choose either branch A or branch B, and branch B would be it would be an initial complaint review, essentially the way what we did with the roosters actually. a written notice from the enforcement officer, letter from the select board, and then a potential select board hearing. And then at any time, as written, you can go back to enforcement A if you need to. If you know, I don't know, if it gets to the point where it's too much and the animal control officer recommends going back.
It gives the board some flexibility on enforcement. Before, it was rather rigid, and in fact, I don't know if we really followed our ordinance. But by having this dual structure for enforcement, it gives us a lot of flexibility on how we can deal with various situations, from roosters to dogs to skunks to everything else.
I just want to make sure we can shift from branch B to branch A at any time, so we don't have to get all the way to B4, you know, in order to go back to A. I just wouldn't.
I think.
What do people think about that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the way I had it written,
Is it okay to just say violations may be addressed through either enforcement pathway at the discretion of the town? The town may shift between branch A and branch B based on that. But it seemed to me like once you start down branch B, you have to have an initial complaint review, a written notice, a letter from the select board, and a select board hearing. Because 4 says, if the issue remains unresolved, the owner may be required to appear, discuss, and determine next steps, which may include transition to branch A enforcement. So that's when you go back if branch B fails. And if that's how we want it, that's fine.
so I intended it for it to not be that. The town may shift between branch A and branch B, maybe you need to say at any time.
Yeah.
Based on the nature. So at any time, would that wording accommodate what your question is, and does everyone agree?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You still want someone fighting the ordinance, saying, I didn't get the written notice, I didn't get the letter, I get the select board.
Yeah, the more we can make it flexible.
Okay, so we'll add at any time.
And that's right at the beginning of section 5, enforcement.
Yeah.
And then the additional provisions for dogs. Currently, we have 2 ordinances, we have the domestic animal ordinance and the dog ordinance. And Fred and I discussed this, and at first we thought that would be good, and then after more discussion, it made obvious sense that having 2 is not a great way to move forward. So created an additional provisions for dogs, which is basically ensuring that we're not duplicating anything in this new domestic animal ordinance, but taking things that are applicable from the dog ordinance and inserting them into the domestic animal ordinance.
And are the, under the penalties, are those fees prescribed by statute?
No. The recommendations from BLTC. If I
Well, I don't want to delay this, but at some point we might want to take a look at those. Although we haven't issued many fines since I've been here.
Well, issuing a fine is difficult.
Yeah, I know.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Quick question, and I don't want to take too much time, but this says, this section supplements the general provisions, blah, 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 and applies specifically to dogs residing in the town of Waitsfield. Does that mean they're just there at the time, or is it they actually are Waitsfield residents? You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure we can still deal with dogs that are here and are a problem that don't have a Waitsfield home address.
A tourist dog.
Tourist dog.
Yeah, and that's from our dog ordinance, and I think that's I agree. And if everyone else agrees, just what words would you like it to be?
Well, I mean, like the licensing applies to Waitsfield dogs, but the running at large doesn't, for example.
Yeah, it could be residing or visiting or something in the town of Waitsfield.
So keep residing and maybe say or visiting.
Because this would, as it reads now, we could only ticket resident dogs, not visitors.
I like touristing, that's, I think, fun.
How about just dogs in the town?
Dogs in the town.
People that are residing.
So for dogs.
And then under registration and licensing, York, maybe put
Yeah, that was gonna be my next
all
question.
dogs over 6 months of age that, I don't know what the right word, that live in the town of Waitsfield.
Residing.
They reside.
Can I use the word residing, because now it just sounds fun?
Let's go.
Move residing.
All right, so
Okay,
that just
I'm done.
added all dogs over 6 weeks residing.
That's a good catch, that's good, that's wonderful.
So with those two changes, eliminating residing and inserting it down below under registration, that's two changes, and then also at any time up under enforcement. If those three changes, should we go ahead with?
I would so move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So this will begin the process of, we have the next 45 days. I'll hang this up in at least 6 locations around town. If anybody doesn't like it, then, then it's not passed in 60 days, which is how Vermont statute is. And then it would go to town meeting for the town meeting to vote, I think is essentially.
Town meeting.
Town meeting, really?
No, we adopted.
We adopted.
It's only if someone.
Yeah, I mean, if
somebody-
within
somebody-
45
yeah,
days,
okay,
people
yeah.
complain, then it's not,
Got it.
sorry, it's not, law in 60
Automatically
days.
Adopted.
Yes, yeah.
And then we will start the process of
Rescinding.
the dog ordinance once we have the dog ordinance in place.
Yep.
So we don't, we were expecting a quote from Miles.
Yeah, and so he didn't get that, so that we can, I'm okay.
We made it.
So we've got the Conservation Commission. First item is approval of Apex Trails Work proposal, which we had included in our packet. Come on up to the table, folks. Phase 2 construction at Scrag Mountain, motion authorize the administrator to develop and execute a contract.
Yes, thank you. We've undertaken a couple different phases of trail construction up at Scrag Mountain. Last summer, we successfully completed phase 1, which I'm happy to report everybody we've been talking to lately has good reviews about the trail.
Really
It's getting
good.
a lot of use.
Yeah, really good.
And a lot of people are looking forward to what's happening next up there.
Yep.
So we developed an RFP that went out for a 60-day bid period earlier in the summer. We got one response, which was the contractor who did phase 1 for us. He's a semi-local Braintree, Vermont contractor. He's been doing trail construction, mountain bike, hiking trails for quite a while now. We were pleased with the work he did on phase 1, and we're recommending that we proceed with a contract with Apex Trail Works is the name of the firm. They provided a bid in the amount of $31,075. And we would like to get a contract in their hand for signature to start work in June of 2026, just so that we don't lose access to this one contractor who provided a bid for the project. So happy to work with York on developing the contract and be run point with the contractor. That's what we did on phase 1. So unless you would prefer to just write the contract yourself.
That's all you.
And where's the money coming from?
That is coming from the, you know the exact name there, don't you? Scrag.
Town Forest Stewardship Reserve Fund expenditures, there's $74,000 balance there.
Does that include, say you asked for the use of a UTV, is that included in it?
UTV, his UTV is essentially.
Oh, he would use it. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's proposing to do all the trail work by hand, which is how he constructed phase 1. He's just asking to use essentially his e-mountain bike to tow a trailer of some equipment up there on the existing sort of Scrag trail that is our logging road, which is suitable for that for, short duration usage.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, he'll be doing everything by hand, so.
So where will this take us up to the beaver pond?
This will take us up, so as you're going up above phase 1, which terminates, there's sort of that loop at the top.
Yep.
At the far end of that loop, there's actually flagging up there. I encourage anybody to go take a walk. And we're gonna gain, I think it's about 500 or 600 feet in elevation along that, just the western flank, through a nice open hardwood forest. And it's a nice long switchbacks. And that's gonna come into, the Scrag Trail just kind of burns straight up the middle of the valley. Where that Scrag Trail eventually reaches a summit just below the beaver pond, or an elevation just below the beaver pond, and heads north, is where phase 2 is going to come in. And so what that's going to enable us to do is not rely on that really sort of steep and unsustainably constructed trail. I mean, guys who put it in did a nice job, but it was essentially, this is the logging road, we're gonna turn it into a hiking trail until we can come up with something better. And it's served its purpose, but we've identified some pretty serious maintenance needs that, we don't need to do if it's no longer a structure. We haven't planned decommissioning yet, but that's sort of longer term.
Well, his past work dealt with water really well.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a few spots to come back to once things settle in and such, but.
This bid also came in, we got an estimated cost, from our trail designer, and this bid came in below that, so we feel pretty good about the
As he did
the
with
reasonable,
he's affordable and he does nice work.
Yeah.
And he really appreciates working, I think, with municipalities for one, so, and he's.
And the quote looked reasonable relative to the work he's already done, like the price tag of the first phase?
Yes, slightly a bit more expensive for this phase, just, it's about the same length of trail construction, but it's just now he's got a little more time to get to the job site from where he parks every day. So I think there was just a little bit more time involved. He's projecting about a month to construct, and that's what it took him for phase one.
Cool.
And obviously, he's looking for June 2026, but, if we have a really wet spring, that may push out into July. Want to make sure we have him signed up and he's not finding other project work.
Yeah, it's awesome if we can get on his calendar that quickly.
Sure. Any other questions? Motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract to Apex Trailworks for Phase 2 trail construction at Scragg Mountain Town Forest.
Or authorize town administrator to develop and execute the contract. Right?
Excellent
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah,
Did
you
you
already
second
did.
that?
I second
Well,
that.
you give me a template, I'll send it back to you.
Well,
once
you
it's-
didn't already do one for the phase one?
I did, but I just want to make sure it's something that it's been a little while. All right,
Okay.
I'll just
Yeah.
roll with what I have.
No, that's,
I'll get you a
yeah,
draft
just send,
to
I'm
review.
happy to do it, just let me know.
Okay. You'll have something by the end of the week from me. How's that?
But you're authorizing me to sign it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Develop and sign.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
I'd like to thank James for all the work he's done on this trail planning. It's a significant amount of work, we went for a grant too, and putting together the grant that we didn't get, but he's been really leading the way and moving this forward, I think, as quickly as possible.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And now it's my pleasure to get some dinner.
I'd like to add,
Good luck. Sorry, go ahead, Lee.
I'd like to add that James has shown real diligence and constant attention to this. It can be a lonely job doing things like this, but his heart is in it, and he's doing a great job. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leo. Thank you all.
Thanks, James.
Have a lovely evening.
Approval of Intervale Conservation Nursery Book, planning project funded by Lake Champlain Basin Program grant. Just buying a lot of materials for,
Buying like 700,
we have a copy of the,
yeah.
Looks like a lot of trees.
It's trees and a planting team from Intervale.
so they will actually do installation.
They'll do probably 2/3 of it, and we'll have a community planning day that will do the rest of it, like we've always done.
And this is all funded out of the Basin Program?
Right, totally.
Any questions?
Wow.
It's amazing.
Where is it going?
Austin, a lot in Farley, some Riverside Park, there'll be some up in Facein. So,
I'd make the motion to authorize the town administrator to develop and execute this, or do we just?
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Are we just approving it? Yeah. approve it.
Yes.
Quote, yeah, great.
Invasive Species Management Habitat Restoration Grant, you're going for another cycle?
yes, just to let you know that the Conservation Commission and I have started to work on a follow-up application to the Lake Champlain Basin Program to continue to improve and develop, the invasive species habitat restoration. It kind of builds on some things we want to do next, which includes kind of expanding the goat experiment to more territory kind of along the river, both in Warren and in Waitsfield on the fairgrounds property, and a number of other things like going beyond planting just trees and shrubs on restoration sites, but other native grasses and forbs, you know, to kind of accelerate the restoration. And beginning to address, and many of the sites where we find and are working on knotweed, there are other invasive species that are kind of co-occurring, like goutweed and honeysuckle in particular, to begin managing that suite of invasives together. So this grant will help us do all those things. Plus, we're starting to have some conversations with the school district about integrating some invasive species education and restoration work in the middle school and high school. So this grant could help fund that. So the grant is due the end of October. So the Conservation Commission will be reviewing the grant at its next meeting.
Does that require a local match?
It doesn't require it, but there will be matching. We'll be using some of the funds that are in the town budgets already. Yeah, and in kind. They allow us to cost out volunteer labor, you know, so, but just like we did on the first grant, so that kind of matching. So that's really just for your information.
Yeah, so there's no action there.
Right.
Okay. Are there any questions about it? So we'll see a final application, know what we might be asked to be on the hook for.
Yeah, you're not gonna be on the hook for anything more than you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's a small match. but-
Right, yeah.
Any other questions? So, Woo Ledge's fairgrounds planning.
Yes, the Conservation Commission is in the midst of finalizing an RFP for a consultant to help with the development of a management plan. So that's in the works, and once that's done, we may want to have a contract, or depending on what the bid is, you know, we'll see if we've got an issue with, you know, multiple bids and things like that. Probably not, but we want to get the RFP out there circulating so we can get this work going probably next spring or so. Well, not next spring, but completed mostly in the first half of next year. We wanted to confirm with you that the discussion we had last time about whether to include the pasture area, you know, in the management plan. And what the Conservation Commission has kind of come to on that point is that the pasture would be included in the management plan, but only as it relates to kind of conservation and trail access, not potential future uses of that property. So that's kind of what our intention is and what we would embody into the RFP.
How does that work? You said the RFP would include the fairgrounds kind of meadow area, but only for conservation?
Conservation-related issues.
So you wouldn't explore whether it should be used for wastewater, for housing, or for recreation.
Exactly.
But I think you do need to look at trail connections and
Right.
probably in a way that, you know, minimizes or limits minimizes future limitations on the use of the property.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty straightforward.
Right. But we didn't want the RFP to have to get involved in what is going to be the long-term use of that property.
And so the RFP will explain that, and then the plan hopefully will also explain that it's actively not considering those uses, right?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I wonder, I think that at a public meeting, when you're presenting the property, I think there needs to be it needs to be addressed that this is a part of it and it's being held in reserve for potential public uses that we're just not there yet and figuring out what those are. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly my
we'll have
concern.
hearings, and it'll come to the
Yeah.
select board eventually too, so that'd be another opportunity for input, but.
Yeah, I share your concern
Yeah,
that
same.
we don't allow a kind of public narrative to start rolling along the lines of, we want to preserve that open space forever.
Right.
Absolutely, the rest of the property, sure, but the open space meadow, in my view, we want to maintain flexibility. So if there's some way to make that clear
Right.
in the management plan that's produced through the RFP, that we're not foreclosing those options and allowing the public doesn't sound like
Right.
appropriate, but we just don't want people to jump to that conclusion that, oh, it's covered in the management plan, therefore it must be conserved space,
Right.
and therefore
Yeah.
all bets are off for future
Right.
use.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was
certainly.
long-winded.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying
Makes
to remember
total
what we said
sense.
at the last meeting. I thought it was gonna be like mentioned that we're just not there yet on
Yeah.
future uses, so.
Yeah. Although I think access is gonna be a real consideration.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
For sure.
Okay, cool. Great, so let's move on. I could probably deal with the next item quickly. I just wanted to kind of recap events of the last 2 weeks. You know, there was a murder of a well-known, it wasn't well-known to me, but I don't know, what do you, a social media influencer. And the president filed a proclamation to fly the flag at half-mast in his honor. I got a lot of contacts from that about why that was happening. I think it was partly mixed up in how heavily politicized and the kind of, a lot of hateful rhetoric around that action, that murder. And it seemed as though to many people that the flag was being politicized, not to honor someone, but as to be used as a cudgel against political opponents. And I kind of drafted something, just a statement saying we always do this, it's our protocol, I think that we comply with the American Legion's, whatever it is, the flag code that they adopt, and I think that's always just been what we do, it's just fine. And then, after I had shared that with the board, I realized, in talking to York, that we don't have the authority to sign off on anything. We would need to have an emergency meeting, and I wasn't gonna call an emergency meeting for that, and I just kind of thought, all right, it was nice therapy for me to write something. Felt good. I went through some drafts. The first draft was a little stronger than the third. But I just wanted to say, it was an issue to some of our town residents. And I did look at the code. You didn't really capture it all, York, in your excerpt, because I read it to be, President can do any government official or foreign dignitary. Just some guy, I don't know that that's part of the formal process or not, but I wanted to put two things in front of the board. One, are we comfortable, given that we live in very different times than I think we have historically, and we have a lot of our federal politics, our federal government is under a lot of threats. Do we want to continue just the process of, or I guess I back up and say, does the select board want a role in deciding whether we should make these decisions to fly our flags at half-mast based on a presidential or a gubernatorial proclamation, or do we want to have a check to see whether that is being, in our mind, being misused for political purposes? That was what I was going through my mind. So with that, and then I also want to say that our rules of procedure, I think they're silent on an emergency meeting. We do need to have the ability. The open meeting law does allow us to hold a meeting without notice, as long as we put notice within 24 hours and follow up. So I want to make sure we can act fast if we need to on a real emergency. I wouldn't have considered that an emergency, although some would say that, you know, the loss of our democracy is an emergency. But I don't think we're gonna fix it with a select board meeting. So that was pretty rambling. And Fred, just let me ask you, that is the protocol, because I remember one time we talked about whether we were criticized by someone for not illuminating the flag. And that is not a requirement, it's advised, right? You seem to be, as far as I know, I would ask you a question about the display protocols.
Well, some history.
Okay.
The Flag Code, Title IV of the U.S. government was written by the American Legion and adopted by the Congress in 1923. So the American Legion has always been heavily involved and has been sort of the go-to group for advice. Now I've lost myself. Illumination, it's guidance.
Yeah.
There are no fines attached to it. I suppose if a federal, the president can order flags to have staff on all federal.
On all federal properties.
Ships and so forth.
And the governor can for state properties.
For state properties. In this instance, and which most always happens, is the president does a proclamation, it goes to the state, and almost always, I don't know at the time that it wasn't, passed down to the state facilities. So the governor's ordering all the flags that have staff for all the state facilities. For us and public and private individuals, it's guidance.
Mhm.
So we don't have to.
But we always have.
We always have. It's sort of like we see the message, the proclamation come down. You know, if you wore boots for any length of time, it's like, okay, that's nothing to question here. You just go out and do it.
Yeah.
I think the slippery slope is when you politicize the flag, people have different political opinions on it. And that's why you should never politicize the flag. And I'm very upset that this has happened in this instance, because it's not what the flag code or the intent is. And that's why we've had some problems.
And that slippery slope goes both ways.
Exactly.
You're gonna make somebody mad.
It's a no-win situation. So if we decided not to put the flag down, we're gonna insult somebody. And if we do put the flag down, we're gonna insult somebody. It's so unfortunate. You just don't politicize. I belong to two patriotic organizations. I belong to the American Legion, and I belong to the Sojourners, which is a part of the Freemasons, who are Master Masons and a veteran. And it's very well entrenched in everything that we do, that we don't talk politics. For this very reason, we don't talk politics.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk politics, go join a different organization. Because when you do bring politics into it, you get into this situation.
Well, because I had started something, I just wanted to have closure by putting it on the agenda and just give folks an opportunity to, you know, share their opinion.
So a little bit more history. The Mad River American Legion Post 75 is a very small post and dwindling fast. But, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we were looking for projects that we could do in the town to both further our goals of a patriotic organization and to help the community out. And we noticed that the flags were not being lowered any of the time, and nobody was caring for the flags. And so we decided as a post to pick that mission up, we just do it. I asked several people about why wasn't the flag lowered for President so-and-so's death, and it's like, not my job, type of thing. Didn't get the word or something. So our post decided this would be a nice community function that we could do that molded within our goals and would help the community out. So whenever there was a presidential proclamation, we'd go lower several flags here in town, and the sextant would do the same for the cemeteries. And when the flag got faded or torn, we'd see to it that it get replaced, and the several halyards on some of the flagpoles would get frayed or broken. We saw to it that they got replaced and everything. And we're very, very sad that this has happened.
Do we need to? Go ahead, Judge.
Well, you made me wonder, how many flagpoles are there in town, and who, like, clearly there's one here, there's,
Well,
how many?
there's 4. When we lower them, there's 4 right here. Here, the fire station, the general weight house, and the school. So we take care of those 4. And then there's 1 in each cemetery that the sextant takes care of.
It's the mechanical ventilation.
So, whatever we do, we should be consistent, right? Not have one building at half-mast and another not, and all that. So we should, whatever, if we decide to update a policy or put in place a policy, we should make it applicable to all the, because those are all town, except for the school.
School is Quasar.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if you guys did a policy, would that stand for the school? You guys, the select board?
I don't think.
They've always deferred to the post's discretion.
I see. So it'd be,
So, I mean, we could make that an exception because it's, technically it's owned by the supervisory union.
District, yeah.
Right?
So I don't have any.
I would like to think this is,
I hope it's a one-off.
yeah, I'd like to believe, but maybe because I'm optimistic, try to be most of the time. But I
One off for
understand.
3 years.
I'm sorry.
3-year one off.
I hope,
Marissa, do you have anything to, because you and I actually did talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similarly really disappointed that this is a conversation we're having to have. And I think the challenge arises is, I don't know that there has ever been a presidential proclamation for having the flag lowered that was not consistent with the recommendations of the American Legion before. But maybe I misunderstood. I haven't done enough research to really be able to say that as a blanket statement. So I'm still kind of chewing on this one, to be perfectly honest. I similarly, Fred, I hope that this was a one-off. I also am not confident that it's a one-off. That's my hope. I think, I don't know. Like I said, I'm still kind of chewing over this. I don't think that I have anything specific to request, and just an observation that this is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I'm still chewing on it too. I will say, Fred, you were out of town. Somebody else did the flag. Nobody did anything wrong. You know, you did exactly what we've always done, which I want to be really clear about that it was just.
Yeah.
I was on the lake. I have an alternate, someone from the post. I called him up, and he said, sure, and he came right up and did it.
No, we talked. You were on the lake for several days.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's what I do in the summertime as much as I can.
So let's just keep chewing on it and see what happens, if that's okay.
It's okay for me.
Okay.
I hate to get.
I think it's worthwhile to have named that it was oh, I'm sorry, Fred.
Oh, no. I'd hate to get in a situation where the post would have to call up and ask permission to go lower the flags. I would resist that. But if this happens again, it may force our hands.
Well, ironically, the protocols say that it flies at half-mast to honor the death of any president. And the last day that it was at half-mast for Jimmy Carter was Inauguration Day this January. And it made the incoming president very upset that
I
they would
remember
dare to have it at half-mast for his inauguration. So you kind of saw the writing on the wall, what was coming. Okay, let's move on. Go ahead.
This is a weird question, but would we have the ability to have a special meeting to, like if we're gonna not update the policy or not put a policy in place, could we at least have the right to have a special meeting to say we're not gonna do it?
I believe that we have that authority.
Yeah.
You do have that, we do have that authority.
But we can't just send out emails and do stuff by email and.
Would have to be a.
It has to be a
organized
warned meeting.
Yeah.
It can be within 24 hours, but it still has to, it can also all be on Zoom for an emergency meeting.
Right, but
it has
to me, that, I agree with where we've been so far, is like, let's hope it's not further politicized and this doesn't happen again. In the event it does, we would at least have a course of action through a special meeting
I think
to
that's a
say.
good approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Recognizing that there were people, multiple people talked to me. I mean, they were upset.
Yeah.
Like, one woman was the most upset I've ever seen her. I've talked to her many times since I came here. So.
Yeah,
I also talked with her.
Yeah. And on the other side, there, car dealerships that forgot to, or didn't lower their flags are getting shamed on social media. And it's a whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
It's a no-win.
Yeah.
It's on Facebook.
Right.
All right, next two items are pretty quick.
Yes.
The Gin grant?
Yep.
We authorized the buyout on North Facein Road. The closing is gonna be October 7th or something like that, October 9th.
And I won't be here.
So I said that I would be available to sign the closing, be at the closing and sign the documents. If you will authorize me to do that.
I'm so
Make that motion to authorize you.
In second, yeah.
Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And,
Aye.
Kurt, this is gonna be a property that the town's gonna own. It's flood corridor along, up on North Facein Road, so it might wanna be on the Conservation Commission's radar at some point. I think it's all just gonna be flood protection. But there might, who knows, there might be some recreation.
Restoration.
I just wanted to.
Fishing.
The contract says John Smith, I
Fishing.
assume that's standard. Fishing.
That's what they sent me.
Okay.
I assume it's just the first stage. I don't know. I'll add, I think there does have to be a walkthrough 24 hours before.
Okay.
It's possible that JB can do that, because JB and I have been working with Gen Grant.
Okay,
But
let me know.
that might be an additional aspect.
Question, how much land area is involved?
Boy, I'm
It
not
is.
remembering,
Not
you have
much.
it there?
I have the contract if it's here. I don't know if it's outlined here.
It's a building lot, right?
Yeah, I just identified a building lot.
That's enough.
And the building will be demolished.
Yep.
Paid for by FEMA.
Doesn't say it in here.
I think FEMA pays
Yeah,
for it.
it's an acre or two comes to mind.
I can look it up on the tax maps. We can move on.
It was all underwater.
Yeah.
So we've made that motion and voted, right? To authorize.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then next item is to approve the festival permit for the ski and skate sale and to waive the fee.
I would so move.
Second. Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks. And consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a typo in the letter, that's on the consent agenda.
Blasted.
Yeah, can we, in approving the consent agenda, are we open to editorial tweaks in the letter?
I mean,
Sure.
in general practice, to approve consent agenda with a minor adjustment or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Larissa, we'll fix that.
Larissa, can you tell me where my,
So it's the very second sentence. While two individuals were walking their leash dog along East Warren Road, a dog from 1102 East Warren Road approached and attacked by a tan-colored dog
Yeah.
with white hair.
I saw that too.
So
I think it's just important to make sure we know who was the aggressor and who was the doggy victim. And I was confused by that sentence.
okay.
And I think it shouldn't be on letterhead, is my other
Yes.
note.
Yeah,
You think what?
it should be on letterhead.
It should be on letterhead, it should be on town letterhead.
Is it not? In the-
Nope.
Oh, my version is on letterhead, so I don't, I mean, the one I'm looking at right now and editing on my computer.
1.2 GIS acres and 1
But-
grand acre.
I thought it was most excellently written letter.
It's not on the
So
top
we
letter.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Recognizing that we're gonna make some editorial tweaks to the letter.
But I thought it was a very well-written letter.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
And that will be signed by you anyway, Brian.
What?
That will be signed by you, and then we'll send it out after that.
Why am I signing these?
I don't know, because Fred asked me to.
It has no clout. Sorry.
You're right.
If it comes from the president of the board. The whole thing is, it's to make it known.
I just want people to call him.
Well, you can put it in the letter as such.
I think I do say in the
I think it
letter.
does, yeah.
But when
You
it's,
can reach out to the town
when you pick up a
administrator.
letter and it says, it's written, and it's signed by the president of the select board.
Select board roundtable?
Okay, for now, given what we have further work we have to do.
Yeah, just, Dave initiated the town meeting
Oh, yeah.
committee
Oh,
that we're
good.
starting on to figure out how to generate more interest and attendance at town meeting, including asking whether we should change the time, change the date, what kind of amenities we might provide, like childcare, like a hot cup of coffee, which is always, has been missing at town meeting, food, whatever. So, gonna be a committee looking into that, hopefully. for the
So
first
if
time.
anyone knows anyone that is interested in participating, we're still looking for a couple more members and especially focused on, well, anyone is welcome, is encouraged, but focusing on people who have had difficulty attending in the past. So, those with day jobs and working parents and things like that.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, we
I just
had,
have,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Larissa.
it's fine.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I had a quick question. I wanted to confirm the timing for the wastewater meeting on Wednesday, because I've heard conflicting things. I just wanna make sure that, because I know that's coming up, I wanna make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be.
Confirm it for us, Stuart.
I believe it's 1 o'clock.
Starts at 1?
Yes.
Okay. That's not what I have in my calendar. Okay, good, I'm glad I asked.
When we first passed it, we talked about
I
different
have
times.
12 on my calendar as well.
I have it at 9 AM until 1, so I'll take 1. 1 sounds great.
I've got 1 to 4.
That's what
We had talked about
We had talked about
lunch.
different times.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Okay,
1 to 4.
so 1 PM
And that is how
and,
it's warned in the Valley Reporter from 2 weeks
oh,
ago.
is it? Oopsie.
No,
That's my
it's-
bad.
No, you're right. We toggled back and forth on times.
Okay. Anything else, Fred?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with dogs today. We had 2 dog cases happening at once.
Oh, no.
One was dogs were locked up in an apartment and the owners had left Vermont, in the short story.
But one of the owners was the guy who was arrested, right?
Was the guy that was arrested, and then the female partner left the state. And there was quite a while that we didn't know if anybody was coming back to get the dogs. So there was a little bit of drama over that. That took most of the day to play out.
It was all day, back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it was a big
Right
disruption.
down the street?
Yep. So it was a big disruption to the office here. And then we had an individual that had been camping at the gravel pit with a dog and was being arrested by the deputy sheriff and had someplace, sheriff's called me and asked me to come take the dog and put it somewhere. In both instances, I have no place to really take the dog. I can board it for a few days at the animal hospital at Roy's, yeah, yeah. But long-term, we don't have anything in place with Washington County Health, Humane Society to take dogs or animals.
Isn't that an option, and did the town opt not to at one point?
That's right. And it's caused problems out there. I had to talk my way around getting Otis in there. And it's only because they were familiar with the Otis situation and had mercy on both Otis and me and took the dog, and took Otis. But we really need to establish a positive relationship with them and sign their contract.
Yeah.
So that we can take dogs and cats there when we're in a situation that we don't have any place to take them.
Do you know why the decision was made not to?
I don't know of any.
No, it was before my time.
And it
Fred
was-
and I couldn't come, we're like, we can't figure out a downside.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So I'd like to get that in place for the
Yeah.
ACO, to give the ACO a tool.
What was the other person arrested for?
I don't know what she was arrested for. I don't know. No. But the sheriff called up and said, come get the dog. And it's like, then what?
Well, and I did
Take it to
call
the president
Roy's
of the chair
today,
board?
and Roy, and they said, yes, we're aware, and we can take any dog, but they close at 5, so that was gonna create a problem potentially with the down street dog.
And I had that same problem with Otis and a few other dogs. It's like, yeah, but you gotta get him here by 5, and it's like, a couple of nights I boarded him at my place. But that's not ideal.
Otis is very fond of you.
Otis is in a good place right now. I got a picture of him with his new parents.
Really?
Oh, Otis is in a good place, and Otis looks so happy.
He's ridden my car a couple times.
Has he? He's a wonderful pet.
Well, if it's okay, if you'd like me to look into the Humane
Yeah.
Society and actually make contact and see what that agreement would look like and just bring it, then I'm happy to do that.
That would be helpful, yeah.
And then the other smaller thing is, if I do have to board a dog or something, I need to get dog food. So if I do have to do this, understand there may come a bill from the grain store for dog food and whatever else.
Makes sense.
Just be aware that this may happen.
Anything else, select board roundtable? I might suggest we, very detailed town administrator's report, a lot of
Thanks, I
information.
tried really hard.
I'm wondering if we want to just go straight to executive session.
I think so.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Today we did hear that our pre-application was approved for the NBRC Catalyst and asked us to apply, which will be worked on this next month. So
That's a wastewater, potential
That's-
wastewater
Yes,
grant.
thank you. That's tying the Waitsfield School into the Irisville, it's in the wastewater system.
And
That's great news.
Maybe we should just say quickly, just for public, that their statewide burn ban went into place today.
so,
Statewide.
statewide.
I was surprised that the towns didn't do it 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, so now town and state overriding any towns that didn't have a burn ban.
Well, I keyed off the forest warden. He called me up and said, can you put out an alert?
Yeah.
And then we did. But I key on that type of situation, emergency management keys off them. The forest warden.
And it's on the top of our website. And if you go to Waitsfield website, it's on the very top ribbon.
But I do have a news flash. 58% chance of rain tomorrow.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Do you have anything
No.
really pressing that you?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
So a motion to go into executive session for legal purposes and personnel.
And invite
Yes.
your
Thank you.
favor camp, and also, I'm not sure who else is present
Kurt,
there.
and Leo.
Thank you, Doris.
Am I allowed to so move?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I would so move.
Second?
That's my new favorite move, Fred, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
It's 8:46 while I turn the
8:46,
recording on.
yeah.
Recording stopped.
Well, he wraps up on this.
Yeah.